All right, Shannon. Shannon, we about to get into another underrated, overrated. And
Okay.
this time I'm going to hit you with NBA players.
Okay.
So I'm going to name 5 NBA players and you tell me if you think they are underrated or overrated.
Okay.
All right. First, let's go with Steph. Or rated accurately, too. So underrated, overrated, or rated correctly. So Steph Curry.
I think for Steph, I mean, the obvious would be to say underrated. I think, and not from a standpoint of, well, let me back up. I'll say he's rated correctly. I think everything that he's getting right now, he deserves. I think there were periods of time throughout his career where people thought he was overrated. But I mean, this man has supplanted the history book so far as the greatest shooter. Clutch, quick release. I think people were questioning whether he was clutch, especially for playoff time. But I think he cemented that with these last playoffs, by of course getting the last coveted trophy, to cement himself in history with the Finals MVP. Personally, I've always really liked this game. He's an undersized guard, but he takes good care of his body. He does a lot in the off season for conditioning and strengthening, and I think it's showing so much in his game, in his latter years. But he's rated appropriately, even though he's been overrated. Overrated at some point. People thought he was overrated. And in many cases, people thought he's been underrated too in his career because people slept on him. There were a lot of people who were like, he didn't deserve to be a 2-time MVP, right? Especially one year, people like it should have went to LeBron, right? But we're talking about a player who changed the game of basketball. Like Reggie Miller used to shoot 3-pointers like crazy. Ray Allen used to shoot 3-pointers like crazy. But this dude has ultimately changed the game. You got people trying to shoot from half court with accuracy. He has completely changed the game with the percentages as it relates to 3-pointers. When you set trends in any sport, I don't care who you are who you are. You deserve all of the credit that you get. And I think we, as we know, and we have talked about plenty of basketball players that have altered the game. Steph is definitely one of them. And so if I had to go underrated, overrated, right now he's definitely rated appropriately because he is now getting those flowers that people kind of question him about. He pretty much solidified, to me, his legacy. And I don't know if we want to get into this. Maybe we get into this when we talk about greatest of all time. But I definitely think he's in the top 10, even though that's been controversial. Some people don't think he is. Top 10. Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't think some people think...
We're going to have to follow up on that. We're going to have to follow up for sure on that.
Okay. We could do that.
All right. Let's see. Number 2. Let's see. How about Kawhi?
Man, personally right now, I think Kawhi is overrated. Ooh. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't know that Kawhi really still has the heart to play ball. Like, we talking about a dude, and I got it. He was injured, or he's been injured, over the course of the last 3 years. He hasn't played a lot, but he just don't strike me as somebody who's still hungry to play the game. And I saw him play the other day. The Clippers and the Lakers, I think, was playing. I think it was matter of fact, I think it was. And he looked good. His form looked good. He looked like he's back to being Kawhi. I just think he's overrated. And I don't get me wrong, he brought San Antonio a championship and he brought the Raptors a championship. I think the jury's still out on whether or not he winds up being one of the greatest of all time. And the claw, I get it. He's been clutch. Like, for nothing else, he's been a clutch player. When you need a bucket and your back's against the wall in the playoffs, he's proven time and time again. I just think he's overrated. I think the game has moved forward while he's been injured and on the sidelines, and I don't know. I have to see more. Currently, right now, I need to see more to know whether or not people are as high on him with his return this year or not.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah,
I
we
think he's
just getting
overrated.
started in the NBA season, so we can check back in
Right.
maybe like around the All-Star break and see what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Steph, Leonard, let's see. How about KD? He's another controversial player right now. KD.
Look, I don't think anybody can dispute the man's game, but I'm starting to question his decision-making process. And I know maybe that shouldn't be a part of the game itself. If we want to talk about straight players, I think he's rated appropriately. He's an assassin. He's another clutch guy. You could put a team on his back, but he hasn't proven that on his back alone he can win.
Right.
Right. Of course, it's controversial. Him leaving OKC, I believe he personally just didn't believe in Russ. Even though those guys were, in the finals, the Western Conference Finals, and then he left and teamed up with the Warriors. I didn't quite understand it. The Warriors were already a good team. This has been well documented, right?
It's not a move. Personally, it's not a move I would have made ever.
But even once he got there, right, because they were already a 70 plus win team, 73 whatever win team before him getting there, 73-10. I think that team was prior to. But even with that being said, you get there, right? And I get it. There's some trouble in the camp. I mean, Draymond is Draymond. I mean, we recently have seen the shit going on with Draymond, right?
Right.
Draymond has not changed. He's always, exactly. He hasn't changed, right? But I think what people are starting to kind of see is the chink in Kevin's armor, that maybe he's a little soft, or maybe he's, I mean, I think a lot of people wanted to follow kind of LeBron's path in trying to amass championships, like when LeBron left Cleveland the first time and went to Miami, and then going back to Cleveland, with that big three, and then going back to Cleveland with a big three, and in many cases, and then in many cases him going to LA, and they really didn't. To me, they didn't really have a big three when he went to LA and won with Anthony Davis. But I think a lot of people have tried to repeat that. There are teams that have stayed true and realizing like a big two, a big three, maybe you don't really need that. And some could argue, like there are a lot of people who argued about the big three really with the Warriors, right? They consider Draymond, Steph, and Clay a big three. It's not a conventional big three the way LeBron kind of crafted that big three, but it is still a big three, right? Very, very good contributors or big contributors on different sides of the ball.
Right.
With the Warriors. But my whole point with Kevin is, or Durant, is that I think people are questioning whether or not he's soft, right? Does he have the mental toughness? Is he, is it outside of the basketball aspect, does he have what it takes to bring to a team, a championship team, right? And so in that case, if I got to go overrated, underrated, I think his rating is fine. I think because, it's an accurate rating. I think because people, I think, are starting to see who he really is. Basketball wise, you can't deny though. He's a clutch player. And like I said, he's an assassin. I wouldn't say he's underrated, and I wouldn't say he's overrated. I do think he's one of the top players in the NBA. You just can't take that from him. I mean, you're talking about a 7-footer who's dribbling the ball, making move. I mean, KD is KD. I mean, you can't take that from him. So I would say he's accurately rated, but I think people are seeing some chinks in his armor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm gonna throw in a bonus since you mentioned it, but Russ is struggling. So he wasn't on my list, but I'm just gonna throw him in as a bonus. But wait, what did that fool say the last game? He had 2 points or something.
He played solid. I played solid. Yo, man, I feel bad for Russ. And I feel bad for Russ on so many levels. This is a dude who is going to be in the history books. He's in the history books for the most triple doubles. Right. He earned those triple doubles. Right. He has been one of the more prolific scoring guards. Like you want to talk about somebody going to the hole or speed, quickness. You know, he has to me, history wise, it's unfortunate that a Hall of Famer is getting ragged on the way he's getting, like, but his game right now, he sucks. Like, and I get why LA was thinking that, hey, maybe this is a good move, right? I get why LA was like, hey, you know, Russ played really well with the Wizards, which he did that year. I witnessed his play that year. It looked a lot like vintage Russ.
Right.
But it was kind of fool's gold. And you know, the first half of that season, he didn't play very well. He turned it on the second half of the season. And I don't know what Scott Brooks said to him or what happened in that locker room that season with the Wizards. But it was good watching coming down the stretch. I think also that same year, Bradley Beal was going for the scoring title too. So it was a lot going on with that specific team for that second half of the season. Like they had the best record for the second half of the season. So there was just a lot going on. And so I could see why the Lakers wanted him.
Right.
But he was excited about going back home. And I don't know if it's a bit of just being back home and the pressure. And that may be good for a few games.
No, man. You too old for that. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's been a whole year. And then you come out stinking up the place your second year with the Lakers. It's like,
right. Yeah.
I feel bad for him, man. He's a Hall of Famer, and it's sad that he can't buy a bucket. It's sad that he's going to the hole and what would be automatic points. He's missing layups. He's missing chippies. Like it's unbelievable. I'm like, I don't even know who he is. It's sad. So in that case, you know, I don't even know if it requires an overrated. I mean, overrated from the standpoint of who he used to be. Right. But all the smoke that he's getting right now is appropriate. It's appropriately rated for him to get all of this smoke because you a Hall of Famer, dude. Do better. Either do better or retire. Yeah. Or take a lesser role and completely come off the bench. Like, that's how I feel about it. It's really sad. It's sad to watch. Yeah. I feel bad for him. I do.
All right. All right. So back to my original list. This is my guy right here, Giannis. The Greek freak. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with, I still think Giannis is very underrated.
Okay.
And although he's won MVPs, right? He's
I like him. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. That's
you know, I think there's so much more for this young player. And I'm gonna tell you, when he can consistently, and I saw him do this, each year he's improved on his game. He's gotten stronger. When he first came into the league, he was a scrawny little dude. He's gotten stronger. He's worked on his jump shot. He's worked on multiple facets of his game. And last year, he started adding the three-pointer to his repertoire. Right? When he can shoot that shot more consistently, man,
it's a wrap.
This dude is a force to be reckoned with. And I think he'll continue to evolve his game. I don't think he's quite reached his peak. And so for that, I'm going to say he's underrated. I like Giannis. I think
like him a lot too.
Is a good dude. And I think he's a good player. Maybe not the conventional, power forward or whatever. I mean, but what's conventional? I mean, So I think the more he continues to evolve his game, and he's humble enough to understand that he needs to still develop.
Right. He just seems like a really solid dude too. Like he's a good-hearted person. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like his story is amazing and emotional and heart tear jerking, but he seems like a good guy. Like,
and for that aspect, right? I think he's very grounded, right? He's centered and grounded, and he understands. He's purposeful. He understands the moment. He understands what he's been given, right? So from a talent aspect, and he's still hungry, which is also very key. A lot of these guys lose their hunger, thirst, drive, and desire, and that's why I was saying what I was saying about Kawhi. Right. I don't think Kawhi still has the desire, to be honest. Okay. So I think Giannis is definitely underrated.
Okay. Well, let's go. All right. The last one, So, I got to say probably the most popular guy in the league right now, LeBron. Underrated, overrated, or correctly rated?
It's crazy to say this. After 20 years in the league, I think LeBron is underrated.
What?
And this is why I'm going to say that.
Okay.
There are some people waiting on Father Time, and I know he got a commercial out with Father Time and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think people are like, surely after 20 years, he can't possibly still play at the level that he's been playing at. But this is a man who takes care of his body, right? He pays a lot of money for physical health. He's also very big on mindfulness and mental health and wealth. We've talked about that in some of our conversations, but I think he's underrated. I think he has something to prove this year. And mind you, we're doing this, at least we're doing these ratings based upon currently, right? I've talked about how things have been maybe over the course of their careers or whatever. Of course, I think there are some times when people would have said throughout his career, maybe he was overrated. And there are sometimes people be like, hey, he's at the appropriate rating. I think right now it's underrated. He's underrated. I think he has something to prove. And I think people are going to sleep on the type of season he's going to have. Most people forget last year he was still in the conversation for the scoring title, right? Like this dude is still performing at a very high clip, or clip, I should say. And so I am amazed how much he does and is continuing to do after 20 seasons. Okay. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah. Now, the Lakers, I don't think are going to do much or there isn't going to be much noise, I think, from the Lakers. The jury's still out on whether or not some of these moves they made in the offseason are going to pay off. But LeBron as a whole, I think is going to put up similar, if not more, numbers. To me, his game just is still solid. And I think some people expect for him not to do as well, just because of his age, and his length of time in the league. So
okay, all right. Well, thank you, Shannon. Let us know in the comments if you agree with her ratings or if you think she was off. And tune in next time. We're gonna keep on doing more of these underrated, overrated in the future. All right.